Skn News's Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew believes it is time to expand the scope of the OECS movement as he addressed the 72nd meeting of the OECS Authority, opened 19 October 2022 on Montserrat. Prime Minister Drew said he was encouraged by the tremendous work done by the OECS Commission and the member states of the OECS on the revised Treaty of Bastille. He also spoke of the possibility of forging closer economic ties with African countries.
Decisions to be taken at the very meeting of the authority on the portability of social security benefits, contingent rights policy implementation, capacity building for officials, and the finalization of an OECS unique identification card are steps in the right direction. I am convinced that we should build on this foundation and spread our diplomatic footprint on the African continent and further afield. We may wish to engage the African Union as they consider us the sixth region of Africa by, of course, considering observer status, giving us a seat at the table where matters related to trade, investment, and cultural cooperation are discussed. We may also wish to deepen our level of engagement by establishing a presence in major cities like Abuja, in Nigeria, Accra, in Ghana, and Cape Town, South Africa. The possibilities are endless. We have started the discussions with the Afrexim Bank, which was alluded to earlier by one of my colleagues, and I urge us to take the subject of joint representation to a higher level and make the necessary decisions to enable us to reap the rewards to be derived from this increased level of engagement.
Meanwhile, Dr. Drew called for greater attention to intra-regional transportation because of its influence on investment, trade, and the movement of OECS nationals and visitors to the sub-region. Glenn Bart reporting for Skn Newsline. The Nevis Island administration has amended legislation to bring clarity to some sections of the law governing the operations of Nevis business corporations. Premier Mark Brantley introduced the Nevis Business Corporations Amendment Bill 2022 in support of overall efforts to diversify the Nevis economy during an 18th October sitting of the Nevis House of Assembly. According to the Premier, the amendments should be viewed in the context that the financial services sector is critical for success in the island's diversification strategies. The legislative amendments address procedural matters, bringing clarity and removing vagueness in some sections of the financial services legislation.
It is customary that this sector generates anywhere from $10 to $15 million per year. And we are seeking, Mr. President, to grow this sector in a significant way, that it can in fact become a major contributor to the economy of the island of Nevis. I believe that much has been said, particularly during our dark days of COVID and subsequent to the COVID pandemic, that there is a need for the island, like many islands and countries around the world, to diversify its economy. I believe that all of us have come to the realization that the mono-economy, the monocrop that we have, which is tourism, that it is unwise to put all of our eggs in that tourism basket. And you will therefore, Mr. President, and for those who are paying attention, they would have seen a deliberate effort on the part of this government to diversify our economy in a meaningful way. These amendments then were done primarily to Section 119 of the existing ordinance, with a view to clarifying certain aspects of the legislation. Specifically, we focus in this bill on the part of the procedure which has to be complied with when an IBC, International Business Company, is removed from the register.
The Premier also indicated that the island must stay ahead on financial services regulation in order to be competitive. Glenn Bart reporting for Skn Newsline.
Your vehicle is very important to you. That's why you should ensure it gets the best service and care possible only at IAS Diagnostic Center, located at Bird Rock behind the Life Fitness Center gym. Come to IAS Diagnostic Center for wheel alignment, rotor cutting, AC servicing, wheel balancing, oil filter change, diagnostic, tire repair and sale, tinting, and much more. With top-of-the-line equipment, come to IAS Diagnostic Center in Bird Rock. Opening hours Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Call 767-4422, 662-4416, or 466-6708. IAS Diagnostic Center for quality care of your vehicle.
Want to get away? Now you can.
Stop standing in long ATM lines to withdraw cash. Use your national debit or black cards to complete a wide variety of transactions at supermarkets, variety stores, gas stations, pharmacies, and more. Shop online at the most popular websites and stores for quality brands using your national debit or black cards. And take back your time to enjoy all the things that you love to do. Remember, instead of waiting in long ATM lines to withdraw cash, use your national bank cards today.
National Bank, always here.
The Skn Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports. All from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
Nestled between evergreen mountains and the Caribbean Sea on the island of St. Kitts is the Mill House Guest House and Convention Center. With breathtaking views, a rugged, beautiful shoreline, and immaculate manicured gardens make this the perfect location for your holiday, event, or wedding. With a large convention center, apartments with balconies providing stunning views, and a secluded cottage for larger family groups or honeymooning couples looking for some privacy. We have something for everyone. Book your stay at www.millhouseskn.com or visit our Facebook page, the Mill House Guest House and Convention Center, an oasis of tranquility.
Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew has sought to justify why members of his cabinet traveled in droves in September. The Prime Minister, during his first press conference on Monday this week, said St. Kitts and Nevis needed to re-establish relationships with international partners and potential investors, which made it necessary for members of his government to travel to these meetings, most notably the United Nations General Assembly.
The reason why we had to take those trips, and I want to say it here, it was around the time of the UN. There's only one time in the year when you can meet almost all the countries in one setting, and that is at the UN. That is an opportunity that cannot be missed. As a new government coming in, our new administration, we had to make sure that we made those connections because we would have lost a whole year to make those connections. So when we traveled, we didn't travel to be on camelback and on the beach in dark shades. We traveled to work. And so that is why the ministers had to travel, to make sure that we reconnect with our international community and to say to them that St. Kitts and Nevis is back. They would tell you that when they traveled, people were like, wow, we have not seen a representative from St. Kitts and Nevis in 7 years.
Meanwhile, Tourism Minister Marsha Henderson also said the relationship with especially international cruise ship partners was severely dented under the previous administration and needed repairing.
We dropped the ball when our partners were calling on us, I think, for shelter for their crew. Now, we just returned from Santo Domingo, and they made it clear that a number of countries in the region, including St. Kitts and Nevis, as we were called upon during the pandemic to house a number of crew members who were on board the ships, and they said we did not respond. That resulted in a breakdown in relations with our partners, particularly in the cruise industry, and We started restoration to the relationships in August when we took a team to Miami and met with a number of our partners and started the restoration to the relationship. They have commended countries like Barbados and St. Martin, and they applaud the leadership there. And we now have competent leadership at the realm of the country, but we had to work hard to restore those relations.
The government has been in for criticism by some members of the public and in the political circles for having majority of cabinet members traveling in early September on government business, barely a month after being sworn in. This prompted critics to question who was running the government. But the Prime Minister reiterated at his press conference that it was important for most ministers to travel to repair broken relationships and declare that St. Kitts and Nevis was open for business. Andre Huey, Skn Newsline. Chief Medical Officer, CMO, Dr. Hazel Laws, was the specially invited guest presenter at a meeting of school principals and education officials earlier this week in an effort to raise awareness about the highly contagious hand, foot, and mouth disease currently, which is known to be easily spread among children. The CMO was invited as a means of providing critical information that would help curb the spread of the virus, which presented itself locally over the past few weeks, especially as schools are high-risk areas as far as the spread of such diseases. Commenting on the fact that children are more susceptible to this virus, Dr. Law stated, "Good hygiene is the best protection against hand, foot, and mouth disease. So each school will need to reevaluate your prevention and control measures and make a determination as to what you need to improve on, such that your school will be doing its part towards reducing the spread of this highly infectious disease." The CMO explained that prevention and control measures implemented at the school level would be most effective in stopping the spread. Prevention methods highlighted by Dr. Laws included frequent clearing of high-touch areas, no sharing of toys, washing hands thoroughly, and frequently throughout the day avoiding sharing cups and eating utensils, teaching children about cough etiquette as well as disposal of tissues. Chief Education Officer Mr. Francil Morris said the awareness exercise was timely as the ministry continues to seek to keep school spaces healthy and safe. Also present at this meeting were new Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Mrs. Lisa Romain Pistana, and Deputy Chief Education Officer Mr. Roger Woodley. I'm Andre Huey for Skn Newsline. Your vehicle is very important to you. That's why you should ensure it gets the best service and care possible only at IAS Diagnostic Center, located at Bird Rock behind the Life Fitness Center gym. Come to IAS Diagnostic Center for wheel alignment, rotor cutting, AC servicing, wheel balancing, oil filter change, diagnostic, tire repair and sale, tinting, and much more. With top-of-the-line equipment, come to IAS Diagnostic Center in Bird Rock. Opening hours Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Call 767-4422, 662-4416, or 466-6708. IAS Diagnostic Center for quality care of your vehicle.
Mimi, what's that song? There is no better time to discover what your National Bank Visa debit card can do. It can get you out of a pickle. Using my National Bank Visa card is fast, secure, and convenient.
Cashless Skn is our new lifestyle choice. National Bank, always here.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune into Voice of the Caribbean Radio for great Caribbean programs, news, entertainment, sports, and current affairs. Wake up each morning and be inspired with One Day at a Time with Kim Huey. Stay abreast with news across the Caribbean and internationally with the Caribbean News Hour, and be entertained with shows like Reggaeville, Caribbean Classics, and Jive Music Show. Visit our website, download our Android mobile app, or listen us on TuneIn Radio. There is so much more on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check website or app for program schedule.
Auto Plus Car Wash, located on the Collins Street Gut, Bastyr, St. Kitts. Bring your car to Auto Plus Car Wash to remove water stains, wiper marks. Get your doors, roof panel cleaned, seat floor mats, buffing, headlights, and engine wash. You get quality service at the best price at Auto Plus Car Wash. They really care for your car. Call 765-5140 or visit them on College Street, Bastyr, St. Kitts. Auto Plus Car Wash, where the service is number one. If you're looking for a place to host that special event, conference, meeting, social event, party, whatever the occasion, your best option is the Millhouse Convention Center, Palmetto Point, St. Kitts. Located on the picturesque Garvey's Estate, the Millhouse Guesthouse Convention Center has enough space for outdoor events overlooking the Caribbean Sea. If you're looking indoors, the center is equipped with amenities needed to make your event a success. And by combining both spaces, you're sure to have a memorable event, no matter the occasion. Call the offices at Millhouse Guesthouse and Convention Center to book your next event on simply the most beautiful place in St. Kitts. Call 668-1392. Millhouse Convention Center at Garvey's Estate, Palmetto Point, St. Kitts. Making your event memorable.
The United Kingdom's government has approved visa-free entry to the country for passport holders from Ghana with the aim of enhancing business and investment opportunities and facilitating travel for tourists. This announcement was made during a press conference on Tuesday by British High Commissioner to Ghana, Jane Miller, at her residence. Miller related that the visa lift only applies to persons in Ghana who are desirous of visiting the United Kingdom.
Those that want a long-term visa, so more than 180 days, so more than 60 days, or wanting to work or to study or to settle in the UK will still need to get a visa. So this is a visa lift for visit visas for up to 6 months, up to 180 days.
The visa waiver she advanced will not be extended to other categories of travelers from Ghana at this time, but it is expected to be implemented from November 9th of this year for an indefinite period for the time being.
The UK reviews the world all the time to look at countries where visas might be lifted or where they might be imposed. So of course, as the President has said, we keep monitoring every country, and if there's a non-compliance, if there's problems, then it might be reimposed, but there's no plans at the moment for it to be removed.
Guyanese entering the United Kingdom visa-free are expected to conform to the immigration requirements. Head of State President Irfan Ali said that his government anticipates that this step will expand Guyana's tourism market.
The UK has a very large bird-watching population. The UK population, they're very connected to nature, and they love more eco-tourism product. Guyana has a very strong eco-tourism product. So this visa waiver allows greater connectivity, greater contact, greater people-to-people contact, and will not only do well for the expansion of trade.
Moreover, the president said too, Ghana intends to gain access to more funding from the United Kingdom for infrastructure projects.
These days, it is getting very complex, the financial market, especially with the volatility that exists. And we are pursuing, as you know, very, very strong terms in favor of Guyana, fixed rate financing at less than 3%. That is.
President Ali earlier this year called on the European Union Ambassador Fernando Pons Canto to issue Schengen visas to citizens of Ghana in the country so that its citizens no longer need to travel to Suriname. Tamika Rodney reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
Protesters in the Haitian capital Port-au-Prince angry at the idea that foreign troops could once again be deployed to their country.
We are making President Biden remember the promise he made when he knelt in front of the Haitian community in the United States. He asked them to vote for him so that the situation in Haiti would change. But they did not vote for him to have a president who was assassinated.
Haiti has a troubled history, but the situation has rarely been as grave as this. It's a place crippled by violence and disease. Cholera is spreading. More than 20 people have died. Many more have contracted the disease. There is an economic, food and fuel crisis too. The UN says 19,000 people in the capital are living in famine conditions. There are shortages of fresh water. Some hospitals are preparing to close, and the main fuel depot is blockaded by armed gangs which roam the streets of the city. That's why the UN Secretary-General says the only solution is a strike force made up of international troops and police.
In the present circumstances, we need an armed action to release the port and to allow for a humanitarian corridor to be established.
The gang that's blockading the fuel depot is led by this man, Jimmy Shalzeh, known by his nickname Barbecue, who Al Jazeera filmed earlier in the year. He and other gang leaders could soon be subject to Security Council sanctions. The US is drawing up 2 draft Security Council resolutions, one to authorize an international force, the other to target gang leaders like Shalzeh.
He is directly responsible for the devastating fuel shortage that is crippling the country. By passing this resolution, we would take concrete actions to hold him and so many other violent criminals to account.
There are still many unanswered questions. The US is drawing up the 2 resolutions, one of which would create the international force, but would it contribute to it, and which other countries would do so? It's also not clear how other members of the Security Council will respond to this idea. Already, China and Russia are expressing reservations. The view of the Haitian people is also important. The protest that took place on the streets of Port-au-Prince at exactly the same time the Security Council was meeting may prove sobering for some. A number of people were carrying Russian flags as they protested a new international intervention. They even brought a coffin, a symbol, they said, of what will happen to foreign troops if they're deployed here. James Bays, Al Jazeera, at the United Nations.
Well, Andrew Simmons joins us live now from Westminster in London, and well, Home Secretary Suella Braverman has resigned. So just how big a surprise is this?
It's a big development. Suella Braverman, Home Secretary, is it's the second big loss in the government top post within less than a week. So Kwasi Kwarteng 6 days ago, and now Suella Braverman. She was on the right of the party. She is a former chair of the European Research Group, which is in certainly a right-wing side, proponents of Brexit. They backed Boris Johnson very much so, and they were also big supporters of those tax cuts, which have all been trashed now. We do have the text of a tweet she's just posted a few minutes ago, and I'm just reading it now. She said that she had posted an official document on her personal email about migration, and this was sent to a personal colleague. This contributed a breach of ministerial rules. As soon as I reported the mistake right away, I then moved on to decide to use, decided to resign because she wanted to keep herself performing to the highest standards of office. And now this is, it is a surprise. Is it as simple as a mistake she made? But it could well be that this government does not tolerate any sort of conduct that isn't strictly in line with ministerial codes of conduct. So perhaps it's as simple as that. But it's easy to look at this and think, well, is this possibly more than a coincidence, in the sense that Suella Braverman was very much against the moves by Jeremy Hunt to move in and do this. Jeremy Hunt comes from a different grouping of the party. He's a One Nation Conservative. And we're hearing now that Grant Shapps, former Transport Minister in Boris Johnson's government, is likely to be appointed to replace her. So Grant Shapps, more of a moderate person. He's certainly not in the ERG grouping. So is this factional? in some ways? Are we seeing now this government going more moderate and moving towards the centre of the party and not the right? These are all possibilities. It's very early in the day to form big conclusions, but what has to be said, this is a blow to Liz Truss only a short time after she had what the party regards as a reasonably good performance in Prime Minister's questions, where the Labour leader Keir Starmer was laying into her. She held her ground, they think. She certainly used a boxing analogy that she is a fighter, not a quitter. And that analogy, of course, I would say applies this way in that she certainly wasn't given any knockout blows by Keir Starmer, but then Starmer went on points because of the chaos that's been going on in this government. And as he described, the fairy tale economics, as you were hearing in Aurora's report earlier on. It was a real fracas in the House of Commons.
A huge day, obviously, for Truss, with the question time being pretty combative, to say the least, and now a resignation of one of her top ministers. I mean, how much longer do you think that Truss can hold on for?
Well, the feeling was that after her performance in the House of Commons that she bought some time. I think the general consensus is that she will have to go. It's such a colossal crash of the economy, and she tried to blame it on her Chancellor, the Finance Minister, Kwasi Kwarteng. She fired him. He was a personal friend. But then she was in charge, and she knew full well she was going ahead with cuts in tax that hadn't really been costed out. And, of course, it caused a major financial crisis. She's done the Conservative Party not only big damage in terms of its credibility, but also in terms of her own status. Well, she does look lightweight, and that is really the situation. But more on Braverman. Braverman is a lawyer by profession. She is, well qualified to be a Home Secretary in charge of what is effectively an interior ministry in other terms. She had been she'd been pushing through Public Order Act, which is quite a right-wing move to clamp down on protests, slightly more extreme protests, such as environmental protesters gluing themselves to buildings and causing a traffic chaos, but coming down hard on them. She has ruffled a lot of collars in that respect. She had also been outspoken about the U-turn on the higher rated tax, the rich getting a tax break, basically. She thought that was a very justified move on the part of the government, and that was one of the first things to be given a U-turn by Liz Truss. So certainly she is from a part of the party that is not really the flavour right now. There is even some suggestions that if there was an early suggestion that Jeremy Hunt, the present finance minister, had actually been behind moves to get her out. But that's not in any way confirmed.
OK, thank you very much. That's Andrew Simmons for us in London. Surely plenty more twists and turns to come. Thank you.
The Super 6 Finals Game 2 is tomorrow night at 7 p.m. at the Warner Park Cricket Stadium. SL Horses St Paul's United, the defending Premier League champions, are one step closer to defending their title, having bagged Game 1 on Saturday with a 1-0 defeat of Sol Island Auto Supply's Connery FC. Connery, on the other hand, wants to force a Game 3 with a victory. The team was not expected to be in the finals, but they delivered exceptional performances during the Super 6 playoffs and get results to usher them into the finals. The players and coach know many see them as underdogs, but they have grown stronger throughout the competition. They are confident they can pull off a Game 2 win, as their coach Al Richards said after their match on Saturday.
Yeah, my thoughts on the game, it was a good game between we and St. Paul's. You can see St. Paul's come out victorious over us. I don't think we execute well in the attack. We had some chances, then we didn't score, but they came back and scored across late in the game. So we got to go to the drawing board and come again for a game 2.
But the ever-confident St. Paul's FC is looking to seal the series with Thursday. Their manager Darian Edmeade made this clear in his post-match comments on Saturday.
We expected a competitive game, and that is what we got from Canary. We're happy that we were able to, to secure that 1-0 victory tonight, and we look forward to Thursday's game when we try to, secure this championship. All in all, I think the team was ready. We were mentally ready. First half, we expected the type of challenge that Canary placed on us, and we just realized that we had to settle down and come out second half, and just continue what we were doing. We got the opportunities. We were not scoring them then, so we're just happy that we got the 1-0 in the second half.
Will we see St. Paul's celebrating their title, or will Connery extend the series to a Game 3? Join us on Thursday night for the outcome.
Welcome to the Skn Newsline Weather Report. I am Janil Boole. Here is a look at the forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis. For a more detailed weather report, visit our website at www.sknnewsline.com.